Time for our first installment of Where in the World is Kenny Albert? Because he is always everywhere. And tonight we find him in San Jose getting ready for the Sharks and the Blues, game number 2 of the Western Conference Final. Kenny, thanks as always. Can you sense the excitement on the West Coast about what's going to happen tomorrow night on draft lottery night?
Thanks, guys. First of all, thanks for having me. Absolutely. I know you guys have your good luck charms ready. The NHL Draft Lottery was so exciting about a month ago, and now we have about 24 hours until the NBA Lottery.
Now, Kenny, again, I know you're all the way out there. You're dealing with hockey. You're focused so much on hockey, but I know your heart's going to be here in New York tomorrow night, and you, of course, have some history with, as all of us do, the man that'll be on the dais, Patrick Ewing, way back in the day.
No, you're right, Alan. I'll be in St. Louis tomorrow, but I'll be keeping a close eye on the lottery live as it takes place. And Patrick was actually my color commentator for MSG, my second year with MSG Network. It was the Summer League at the Nassau Coliseum, and the Knicks played a bunch of games on a Friday and Saturday night, and Patrick was actually the color commentator. So great memories. Jeff Van Gundy wasn't coaching the Summer League team, but he actually joined us for a couple of segments. So still think back, hard to believe it was 23 years ago, but the next time I saw Patrick was about 7 or 8 years later, and he remembered those broadcasts well, and he came up to me and he said, "You were my mentor in broadcasting." So a lot of fun.
Kenny, just so you know, you haven't aged a bit.
Nor has Patrick.
Right.
What about the series tonight? Blues and the Sharks, San Jose 6 goals in game 1. Odd for the Blues and Jordan Binnington to have that kind of struggle. What are you looking for tonight in game 2?
Well, Bill, I worked the previous series between the St. Louis Blues and the Dallas Stars, and that was terrific. It went to a game 7, double overtime last Tuesday night in St. Louis with Patrick Maroon scoring the winner. And here we see Logan Couture scoring one of his 2 goals. And the Sharks were on fire in game 1. They took advantage of some miscues by the Blues, some turnovers and some penalties. They're a terrific team on home ice, now 7-2. The Blues have been a good road team, so was over at their practice this morning, talked to head coach Craig Berube, and he feels that if they can eliminate the turnovers and the penalties and stay disciplined as they did for the most part during the Dallas series, it should be a much closer game, and hopefully this series is a long one as well.
Now, I know it was early for you out on the West Coast, but we did get up early to watch the World Championships going on in Finland, in Slovakia, I should say, right now. And it's U.S.-Finland, that game, and it's so much talk about Jack Hughes and Capo Kakko, and they went head-to-head in that game. Did you happen to catch any of it, and what did you come away with? What thoughts?
Only caught a brief portion, Alan. Was following it on Twitter and social media, and such an exciting time if you're a Rangers fan, a Devils fan, with the 2 local teams having the first 2 picks in the draft following the lottery last month. I've actually known Ellen Hughes, Jack and Quinn and Luke's mom, for a long time. Her husband, Jim, is from Long Island. It's a great family, and it's a great problem to have, right, if you're Jeff Gorton and Rangers management, because you know you're getting one of these 2 players. And Capo Kakko, he's sure opened a lot of eyes during this tournament as well, playing for Finland. We saw him score the big goal, the winner in the World Junior Tournament back in late December, early January. They go head-to-head today, and the Devils will make their choice, and then the Rangers will most likely pick the others. So from all accounts, they should have long careers, and they could be generational players in the NHL.
Kenny, Eastern Conference, Boston so far looking really good in their series against the Hurricanes. What's your expectation for what may happen in game number 3?
Well, they sure do. Now, Carolina's been a great team at home. They haven't lost yet, Bill, in the playoffs, 5-0 on home ice, but Boston certainly looks like a juggernaut with what we've seen over the first 2 games. They get by Toronto in the first round and then beat Columbus in 6 in their second round series. And the Bruins look like they're on a mission. A number of their players were part of the Stanley Cup team in 2011. They went back to the Stanley Cup final in 2013. They've mixed in some terrific young players. Matt Grzelcyk scored a couple of goals. Yesterday, he played for David Quinn at Boston University, as did a couple of other Bruins as well. And, whether it's Boston or Carolina, San Jose or St. Louis, should be a terrific Stanley Cup final. Of course, if it is the Bruins and the Sharks, you'll have the Joe Thornton narrative. First overall pick by the Bruins back in '97, spent 7.5 years in Boston. He hasn't won a cup yet. So just getting back to the original question, though, the Bruins, with the win over Toronto in the first round and then Columbus, everybody thought it would be Tampa Bay in the Eastern Conference Final, but here are the Bruins, and they look real good.
Now, this is, where in the world is Kenny Albert? But this is also 6 degrees of Kenny Albert because, let's see, you did TV with Patrick Ewing, you know the Hughes family, and now, of course, your connection with Barry Trotz that goes back to your college days. How did your old college roommate do in his first year with the Islanders?
Well, he was actually my roommate during my first job. Right after college, I was doing the radio for the Baltimore Skipjacks of the American Hockey League, and I was 22 years old at the time. Barry was 26 or 27. And to save money on the road, a number of minor league teams would have the radio guy room with the bus driver. In our case, it was the radio guy and the assistant. So we were road roommates for 2 years. I learned so much from Barry. He's such a terrific guy. Got to spend a little bit of time with him during the first round against the Pittsburgh Penguins. But they were fun days. We don't have enough time now, but there's a story about a fake arrest that Barry set up of me in Sydney, Nova Scotia, when we traveled up to the Maritimes. That one will take about 45 minutes, so I'll fill you guys in.
It's a long show, Kenny.
Hey, we got 150 minutes. Go ahead. Go ahead.
All right, I'll give you the Cliff Notes version. So earlier in the season, I had done a pregame radio interview with Barry where something came out wrong on his end, and I didn't use it on the air, but the mistake that I made was I went and played this audio clip for some of the players, and the word got back to Barry, and he said to me, I'll get you back at some point. So 4 months later, we traveled up to Sydney, Nova Scotia. It was the only time we flew all season. Everything else was a bus trip. So we fly from Baltimore to Boston to Halifax to Sydney. 3 flights, small planes, regional jets. The hockey equipment and sticks took up most of the luggage space underneath the plane. So we knew that our actual luggage wouldn't make it there until the next day. So we get off on the tarmac, tiny airport. Gentleman in a clipboard comes over and says, "Is this you?" I figured he had questions about the luggage, as far as some of the luggage that didn't make it onto the plane and what it looked like. Brings me into an interrogation room, starts asking questions. Is your passport valid? Have you ever been arrested? Do you know anyone that's in trouble? Then they put me in an unmarked car, start driving around Nova Scotia. And finally, after about 15 or 20 minutes, he broke the news that it was a practical joke. And the funny ending to the story is the team bus actually got lost, so I beat Barry and the rest of the team.
Kenny, thankfully for all of us, you didn't end up in jail.
He still loves telling the story to this day, 28 years later.
Kenny, hey, thanks so much. Have a great call tonight on the Sharks and the Blues.
Thanks, guys. And Alan, my partner tonight, Mike Milbury, sends his very best.
Oh, it's great to hear.
I didn't know you had any friends anyway.
No. Well, Mike is a great acquaintance, but send my regards as well, Kenny.
All right, Kenny, we'll talk to you down the line.